Appreciate it. Now, I want to talk about a group of journalists, mostly the usual suspects from the ABC and The Guardian and the 9 media newspapers too, have signed an open letter calling for news outlets to treat Israel like Hamas when it comes to reporting on the conflict in Gaza. In the letter, they write, apply as much professional scepticism when prioritising or relying on uncorroborated Israeli government and military sources to shape coverage as is applied to Hamas. But it didn't take long for the group to trip themselves up. In the same letter, they write more than 14,000 Palestinians have been killed, including roughly 6,000 children, by Israel's bombardment of Gaza since the October the 7th Hamas attack, quoting unverified numbers provided by Hamas, a terrorist group, to make their point. Whereas they write professional scepticism. Where is it in that case? It is just incredible. Let me bring in Dr. Colin Rubenstein, Executive Director of the Australia, Israel and Jewish Affairs Council. He joins me from Sydney. Good to talk to you again, Colin. This is outrageous from these journalists because they're equating official Israeli information, that is information from a liberal democracy that operates under the rule of law, with information that comes out of Gaza, which is all effectively controlled by Hamas, an Islamist extremist terrorist group.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's another example of journalists in this country wanting to promote the Palestinian narrative and not recognising what's at stake here. On the one hand, a genocidal, barbaric organisation.
We have re-established connection with Colin Rubenstein. He joins me again. Thanks, Colin. We were talking about this letter by these journalists about applying equal scepticism to official Israeli sources and Hamas. One of the points that's really irksome about this, as I've highlighted on this program in recent weeks, we've actually seen the opposite in the media already. So much of the media, especially the ABC, has taken what's come out of Gaza as gospel and applied scepticism to what the Israelis are saying. When you think about liberal democracy, the rule of law and accountability, the opposite should be the case anyway.
Exactly right. I mean, what we see here is journalistic activism. It's not really professionalism as you would expect from mainstream media. I mean, mainstream media would abide by, objectivity and a certain faithfulness to the evidence and the questions that are asked and not asked. And what you see here in the examples that this letter gives is complete bias towards the Palestinian narrative. Saying there's good evidence suggesting Israel may be guilty of war crimes and apartheid and you name it, it's all in there, without appreciating or giving adequate coverage to the fact that it's Hamas that's perpetrating double war crimes, not only in the barbaric attacks on October 7, but the continual rocket attacks, which continued until the last couple of days on Israel, as well as treating its own people with complete disdain. I mean,
and these journalists
using them as human shields is appalling.
It is appalling, but Colin, they're doing this while Hamas still has 200 innocent hostages held in the tunnels and God knows where else in Gaza. It seems extraordinary that these people can then practice as journalists at 9 Media or at the ABC. And even more extraordinary, well, not to those of us who know what they're like, but surely this bells the cat for everyone on the Journalists' Union, signing up to what is effectively a piece of Hamas propaganda.
Yes, absolutely, and give credit to the bosses at 9 who have ruled that their journalists who have signed this letter are not fit to cover this war for very obvious reasons. And of course, going forward, of course, we've got these misguided claims of the need for ceasefire, which effectively amounts to surrender to barbaric Hamas, ensuring that they continue to inflict misery, not only on Israelis, but also on their own civilians. So it's a very dispiriting situation that you could have so many journalists sign such an activist letter that really should not be taken seriously for anyone who values proper professional, objective journalism in this country.
I reckon it's very tragic for the country too, because they're doing this at a time when we're seeing anti-Semitic behaviour right across the country, including people chanting death to the Jews at the Opera House, and yet this is what we get from some journalists and the Journalists Union. We'll talk again soon, Colin. I appreciate you joining us. Apologies for that short break.